Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to all the new unauthorized members who signed up today. Thanks to Starliner, our newest YouTube channel member. And welcome to all the reprehensibles, to the unauthorized, and of course, to the bears. So who will collapse first? It's a question that occurred to me when I was reading a long and very detailed article on Strategy Page. Let me give you the link to that here. There's a link on my blog, but I'll give you a link here. And I think it's worth reading. You know, obviously I can't testify to how accurate it is with regards to the current state of China, but it is very interesting to read the different perspectives. Yeah, don't be coming in here making statements against Jesus Christ or Christianity. If you do that, you will be immediately banned. No question, no hesitation. In fact, the moderator beat me to it. If you want to go spurg out about atheism, go do it somewhere else. Armenia says define collapse. Absolutely, we will do that. But let's do some house cleaning first before we get to the main subject tonight. First, I'm happy to announce that we have a new book coming out. Well, and by we, of course, I mean Milo. If you're interested, his latest How to Be book is How to Be Straight, following on his very successful How to Be Poor. We haven't actually formally announced it yet. We'll do that tomorrow. So here on the Darkstream, you are the first to see it. The book is already up on Amazon, and it is also, you can also get it in both EPUB and Kindle formats directly from us at arkhavencomics.com. Let me give you those two links as well while we're at it. Just a moment. Okay, so here is the Amazon link for those of you who are interested. That's the Amazon link, and the Arkhaven link, which same price, but you get both the EPUB and the Kindle version, is right there. So that I wanted to mention is that a post we were talking about today, and the reason that a lot of people today, I was looking at the cost of television episodes, and they're just ridiculous. The average price of a television episode is $3.4 million. Which is totally ridiculous. Huge waste. If you look at how much money they're throwing at these highly connected, useless people, run it by Owen after the fact, is if we get 5,000 new basic subscribers on unauthorized before the end of the year, we will commit to creating and producing a original television show that we will broadcast on unauthorized. We're not going to chase the networks and all that sort of thing. We are going to deliver it directly to the people who are making it possible. Now that seems pretty ambitious if you think about the fact that we only have 5,000 subscribers total now. But here's the thing. 5 months ago, we had none. We just got this started in March. And so it's theoretically possible. And, you know, if you look at the number of people that will watch this video, the number of people who will watch this video is somewhere between, let's say, 9,000 and 15,000 people by the time I take it down from YouTube. Owen has something like 20 to 40,000 people who are watching his stream. Now, here's the thing. If each one of you, if every one of you was willing to spend $10 a month, which is the price of, I worked it out somewhere, but I think it's the price of 2 Frappuccino Ventis a month. Let's see here. 2 caramel Frappuccino Ventis at Starbucks. If all of the people who are watching this were to do that, we would be able to absolutely shake the gates of Hollywood. We would be able to shake the gates of the television industry. And I know it's a big and ambitious ask. You know, I'm not going to point any fingers at anybody who doesn't do it. I'm not trying to shame you into it. I'm not trying to guilt you into it. And I'm not going to pester you about it every day. That's not my style. I think you know that. I'm simply pointing out that if you do that, we will follow through. And we will produce something that I believe is going to be better than the vast majority of current television products. It's not going to be fancy. It's not going to have cutting edge CGI, etc., etc. But we can do it. And if you look at what we've done with the comics, people said we couldn't do the comics. I mean, there were literally comics industry professionals who said that based on the amount of money that we raised, we would not be able to produce a single comic book. They said we couldn't do it at all. This is just a few of the comics that we produced. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, this is 5. 6. This is Alt Hero Q. Notice something too about the sizes. People came out, I mean, if you notice, full color, high quality paper. It's not that we weren't ready right away. The printer did not have it set up to do it that way, but we worked with them. And now guess what? We have really high quality standard comics. This paper is really thick. It's 100-pound weight or 100 ounce, whatever it is. And we've still got the really high quality covers and stuff. So my point is that we've already proven that we know how to work around the challenges. And now you can say, okay, well, yes, that's comics, but this is video. Well, guess what? In probably 6 weeks, we will introduce our first original documentary, and we're going to produce more original documentaries. The quality is very, very high in terms of the filming and so forth. In fact, the music, I can't wait to introduce the theme music to you. And so, and here's the thing, we're going to be producing a special, a fully professional special. It's going to be connected to Owen's tour, which some of you know about. And we are going to spend 1/10 of 1% of the budget for Ellen DeGeneres' and Chris Rock's new specials. And I'll bet you right now that it's going to be funnier. It's going to look just as professional, and it's going to be funnier. So, when you look, so it's not proved, but we do have a track record of being able to produce stuff that is of very good or superior quality at a vastly lower expense than the mainstream. And so, if you guys manage to provide us with 5,000 more subscribers by January 1st, 2020, we will produce a television show, and we will produce a full season of it. We'll start out with a pilot, and if you guys like the pilot, then we will produce the rest of the season. If you don't like the pilot, then we will revamp and do something else. But it's going to be, honestly, I think that you will love it because we've already kicked around the ideas, and, the core idea is there. The core idea is fitting, and the core idea is funny. It's nothing too crazy. It's nothing ludicrously original. It's just setting up a core scenario, a core situation where Owen can shine. And so anyhow, if this is of interest to you, if this is what you want to do and you want to support, then I'd really encourage you to go ahead and give up the 2 cappuccinos, or the basic subscription is $10 a month. You can see it there. And that's how you can help. And this, the main reason though, of course, is that it's a horrible idea to allow many people to get involved. Yeah, this is different than the Big Bear subscription. The reason that it needs to be the basic subscription is it needs to be something that can be directed to the project rather than going directly to one of the creators. No, it's the basic is $10, not $15. Now let's talk about China. We can talk about this more later if we want, but let's see. Mike Lassiter asks, will upgrading from a $5 to a $10 subscription count towards the 500? Yes, absolutely. We already know what the number was when I issued the challenge, whatever you want to call it. If we have 5,000 more basic subscriptions by that date, we will follow through. And we'll have the resources, we believe, to do it. We won't have what Hollywood considers the resources, but we don't believe that we need them. So, Jay Stang asks, would you say one small step? Anyhow, is it possible to get promotional gear and hit the actual streets? Yeah, we've got the official unauthorized t-shirt is now available at crypto.fashion. And so, people, here's why I'm somewhat unapologetic about putting forward these things. Keep in mind, I am not in the habit of asking people for assistance or for money. I was doing things completely on my own until 2015. And that's when I learned that I needed to learn to tell people, we need X if you want us to do Y. And so a lot of people are, they want to fight the culture war, but they don't have any idea of what to do. They have no idea how they should even go about it. You know, this is one way to go about it. There's other ways to go about it too. I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm not even saying this is the optimal way. I'm saying that we have proven that we can and will deliver. You know, I don't care about lollipops and fancy pants. Look at my office. This is what I want. This is what I need. I got books and I've got privacy. I have no desire to go around attracting attention. I have no desire to go around giving speeches. I have no desire to be pressing the flesh with anyone. But I do want to create. I want to write my books, but because we're living in a post-literate society, I recognize and understand that I can't just write books. I have to get involved with the visual element. So we started that with comics. Now we're moving into video. So if you want to help take back your culture, this is a way to do it. And somebody said something about signing up for premium. Premium's even better. Premium is $25 a month, and that's even better. So we'll count premium memberships towards this as well. So, but I don't know if you've heard about. We'll devote a whole Darkstream maybe tomorrow to the what they call the rural massacre, which has created a huge opportunity for us. So let's get back to China. I want to read you a little bit of this really excellent article at Strategy Page. I already provided the link there in case you haven't seen it. But here's what's interesting. It's a very long article, so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. But first it talks about Hong Kong. And now one thing a lot of people don't realize about Tiananmen Square is that what actually happened in Tiananmen Square was very different than what the West believes happened. First of all, the violence was very much mutual. Secondly, there's some real question about how much violence was committed by the Chinese military against the soldiers. And in fact, I don't have a good handle on how the whole situation went down, but I have seen the pictures of the burned out soldiers' buses that were attacked by the so-called students and the rioters or the activists. There were definitely casualties on both sides, fatalities on both sides. It was not just a simple matter of a bunch of students sitting down peacefully and demonstrating and then tanks driving over them. But the connection between this whole Remember Tiananmen Square thing, this connects directly to the current demonstrations in Hong Kong. And so China is in a difficult position because on the one hand, the success of Hong Kong under Chinese rule has helped them considerably in making nice with Singapore and with Taiwan and with their neighbors. But the Chinese government has clearly lost patience with the Hong Kong government. And so it says here, since 2014, China has tried to slowly and quietly eliminate the many freedoms granted to Hong Kong in 1997, and that effort has now backfired in a spectacular way with larger and larger demonstrations in Hong Kong, making it clear what the locals thought about their freedoms. And in fact, just today, the airport was closed down. There's been the level of violence and tear gas and so forth has escalated, and so there's some real questions about whether the army is going to move in. There's even been some reports that the army is already beginning to move in. But the bigger threat to China is the trade war with the US. I've pointed out, and I've actually been on Chinese television, explaining that the trade war is entirely to the advantage of the USA. The trade war is actually boosting the US economy directly. This is mainstream orthodox economics. I'm not saying anything controversial. It's simply that most people don't understand even mainstream economics. And so it's very simple. GDP, part of the GDP equation is X minus M adds on to the GDP. Well, if X, which is exports, minus M, imports, is negative, which is very much the case with the balance of trade between the United States and China, then any reduction in M or any net reduction in X minus M, any reduction in negative X minus M is absolutely, mathematically, going to increase your GDP. And so it says here, the Chinese economy is a mess and is getting worse, a situation that's been around for over a decade. They have a worse problem with debts and bank than the West does. At the core of it is a growing bank crisis. Years of tolerating corruption and ignoring the growth of bad loans mean that just borrowing more money to give the economy a boost will not work. So they're having the same pushing on a string problem now that the West was having in 2008. A sharper decline in Chinese economic activity would have a worldwide impact because China is a major trading nation and a major customer for raw materials, semi-finished goods, and some high-tech items. Fewer orders from Chinese firms will have major impacts on national economies worldwide. That's why global financial markets have been in turmoil since 2018, and prospects of a turnaround are not good. The Americans demanding an end to Chinese bad behavior comes at an inconvenient time for China. Now, here's where it gets particularly interesting. Until now, the Chinese would often flagrantly cheat and then deny they had done any such thing. This has been going on for decades, and the recent American trade war is meant to deal with this long-festering issue. They're talking about intellectual property and industrial espionage, U.S. government. Translation: we're talking about the media attempting to overthrow the Trump administration. China sees an opportunity here and is taking it. Now think about that. What they're actually saying is that the media is complicit with the Chinese trade war. Think about how significant that is. And so, it's really remarkable. And so we are living in what are essentially, or what is essentially a pre-war period. And it's not the case like people will sometimes have it, they'll say, oh, well, World War I was caused by this conflict, and World War II and the Great Depression were caused by the trade war then. No, it doesn't work like that. It's not causal. In fact, if you look at the actual numbers leading before World War I and World War II, you can see that the impact of the trade war was absolutely minimal. But these things tend to precede wars, because they're just different forms of conflict. Remember, how did Clausewitz describe war? He said, war is politics by other means. Well, what are trade conflicts? They're politics. War is just a different form of conflict between nations or between empires. And so what we're seeing is an empire and a nation state, both of which are not in very good shape. The U.S. is in terrible shape. The U.S. in the long term, the U.S. is in worse shape. But in the short term, China is probably in worse shape. And so, China's strategic advantage would be just to wait, but they don't know if they can. And so, the U.S., of course, has the same problems with debt, but it also has the problems with immigration, the problems with ethnic diversity, the demographic problems. China's a lot less likely to have violent conflict taking place within its borders. It has problems with India, with the Philippines. Their problems tend to be external. The U.S. problems, being an empire, of course, are naturally internal. And so we don't know who's going to collapse first, but we do know that somebody is likely to collapse first, and it could be a domino effect where the European Union goes down, the United States breaks up, and then China has some form of significant unrest. It's hard to imagine because the Communist Party has such control there, and people genuinely have a high level of confidence in the Chinese government simply because the current chairman or president, Xi, has done a very good job of attacking the corruption that causes people to lose confidence in the government. To the contrary, the United States government has been actively creating less and less confidence. I mean, look at the Epstein thing. Literally nobody believes anything that the government has to say. I mean, how can you have any confidence in a government that doesn't defend its own borders, that can't even keep a prisoner alive in jail? I mean, why even have a government? What's the point? What does the U.S. government do for the American people anymore? Not very much that's good. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. The empire is not good. It would be good for the American nation if the U.S. empire collapsed in the long term. Of course, in the short term, it'd be tremendously unpleasant for everybody. John of Mass said, I just joined Unauthorized TV, so much to watch. Excellent. In fact, speaking of unauthorized, the new Barcelona Life is up, and it's hilarious because Farley and Elizabeth took their Labrador Maisie to the canine water park. I didn't even know they had canine water parks, but anyhow, welcome Girth Bear. There's a name. And so, and also we're going to be adding something very special. I'm probably going to be putting it up tomorrow. But Lieutenant Colonel Greg Thiel sent me the video of William Lynn's epic lecture on the 4 generations of modern war at Quantico. And so it's not a true documentary, but it's something that anyone who knows anything about 4GW or military history is definitely going to want to watch. So let's get to some super chats then. Let's let's see. When can we expect a Sam Hyde and Owen collaboration? I don't know if Owen even knows Sam Hyde, so I wouldn't hold your breath. Plus, Owen's not really a big collaborator that I've seen. He likes to do his own thing. Matthew Milam says, the people you are going up against have no sense of budget. Exactly. I'll have to tell Owen that. He'll laugh. Cave Bear says, just lamenting the wasteland of ideas Hollywood has become. Everyone knows Star Wars 9 will suck. This is great news. Real originality. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we want to get back to the, what worked in the late 70s, what still worked in the late 70s. Just wholesome entertainment, dealing with God-fearing families and the quotidian challenges of their lives. It doesn't have to always be, the world is about to end, but just maybe if we do it together, we can save the world. I mean, come on. I've gotten to the point where I can't even stand to listen to somebody say together. It's in every freaking, cop drama, every superhero movie. It's like it's like they're all working from the same script. It's crazy. Robert Dunn says the ultimate would be to make a movie adaptation of Throne of Bones. Yeah, I mean the ultimate would be to do our own massive Game of Thrones style HBO series of Throne of Bones and the Sea of Skulls and so forth. Maybe Terry Gilliam to direct? No. Not sure if you respect Gilliam. I mean, I have some respect for what he does, but I don't like his preference for the grotesque. He's got a style, and he is moderately original, so you have to give him respect for that. But I don't like it, and it wouldn't fit. It wouldn't fit what we're doing there. Ponderosa Bear said, just got done reading Peter Zehan's The Accidental Superpower. It gives me hope for our economic future. Have you read it? No. Well, based on the fact that it gives you hope for our economic future, I probably don't think much of his take. You may note that back before 2008, I was talking about deflation and so forth. We've now officially gotten to negative interest rates in Europe. So the evidence that is accumulating tends to point to my having been correct. Marie Gollet says, are philosophers sociopathic wizards? No. Thoughts on Rogers Albritton? None. Just because sociopathic wizards call themselves philosophers doesn't mean that they are philosophers. In fact, they are not philosophers. They are sophists at best. Remember, the wizards invert and subvert everything. Of course they're going to attack true philosophy. True philosophy is the one thing they hate nearly as much as they hate Jesus Christ and true Christianity. And so true philosophy points us towards the truth, which therefore points us towards God. Upchuck McDuck says, will the aging population due to the one-child policy become an issue down the road? I don't think so. I think that the problems are going to reveal themselves before long, and having a lot of unmarried men, reasonably young unmarried men, is actually generally considered to be a military advantage. Chris Fernand says, if the U.S. defaults on its paper, the banks in China will burn. Well, true, but so will the banks everywhere. Everything is a house of cards right now. Exactly. Back in 2008, I remember talking to the CEO of a very large gold company. And I mean, this is a very high-powered guy. He used to meet with the heads of central banks and stuff. I remember he came back from one meeting and he said, I honestly think we're doomed. And this was before the 2008 crisis, but it was within sight of it. And you may recall that I had predicted it, so we both were expecting something bad to happen around that time. And he said, I talked to the central bankers. I'm not going to mention what country it was, but he said, they're idiots and they have no idea what they're doing. And I remember thinking, that's not what you want to hear. And so for every dollar of actual value, there's something like, 100 different debt claims on that $1. That's not a situation that can last forever. Henry Aller says, are you a fan of Augustine's City of God? Not particularly. I've never been a big fan of Augustine. I always thought his, I am the worst of sinners. I stole an apple once. Just, and then not really being that concerned about the fact that, he had this illegitimate child and whatnot. Anyhow, I've tended to find his writing style a little bit turgid as well. Obviously, major thinker, very important, but I'd rather read Aquinas. Morse Code Bear. Vox, would you prefer to keep me as a member here or have me bump up to a $10 sub on unauthorized? Definitely the latter. We always prefer people to be on unauthorized, but because we respect the market, because we respect the consumer and their choices, it's good to have both options. But remember, if you're an unauthorized subscriber, I will send you the notifications as well. You just need to email me and say, this is my email. I'm an unauthorized subscriber and I would like notifications. So I would say actually the notification list is about 2/3 channel members and 1/3 just unauthorized folks. So Marie Goulet says, what does the U.S. government do? A yellow flashing 4-way stop. Those are pretty neat. Well, the U.S. government pursues its trade war and wins. Oh, that's interesting. Michael Caron said, hey, Vox, did you happen to see both Daniel Dennett and Richard Dawkins have both been on the Lolita Express? Wow. When did that come out? Were they on that original list? Because I don't remember hearing anything about either of them being on the original list that's been out there for a couple of years. Is this a new list or something? I'd be very interested to hear about that. Wouldn't surprise me at all with Dawkins if it were true, because Dawkins has openly said that raising a child religious is worse than childhood sexual abuse, which I thought was very iffy, very questionable. Vox, could you moderate a debate between Owen and the Kurgan about the moon? I would absolutely do that. That would be hilarious. What are some poets and short poems you're a fan of from the last 300 years? My favorite poet is almost certainly Byron, and my favorite poem is the lines inscribed on a skull. Let's see. Neon Revolt had it in his Twitter. Okay. Interesting. Maybe it was for research. You said Lincoln was one of the worst presidents, and I agree. How come historians constantly push this false dichotomy that he's the best? Because they support American empire. They support the destruction of the American nation. Let's see here. Dreadnought, speculative fiction. If China was to respond to impending collapse by attempting to annex Siberia, they're not going to do that, and ended up in a nuclear war with Russia, which they're also not going to do, what do you think the consequences would be for the world? I think that the U.S. would definitely end up getting nuked, as would a number of other countries. I mean, it would be horrific, but it's not going to happen. You don't respond to impending collapse, by sending your troops outside the country. That's and China and Russia both recognize that their biggest threat, the biggest threat to both of them, is not the USA per se, but the neoliberal world order. And so they are working together against that. That's why they're also teaming up with Iran. That's why they're teaming up with Syria. That's why they are, even Turkey. You know, Turkey and Russia had really bad relations, and they've fought numerous wars against each other throughout history. And then the CIA attempted to overthrow Erdogan. And so, or Erdogan, or however you pronounce the Turkish president's name. Anyhow, ever since that coup attempt, he realized that he needed to throw in with the Russia, China, Iran axis, and has done that. And so it's obvious that the neoclowns are getting desperate, because they figure that they've only got a very limited amount of time where they can use the U.S. military for their own purposes. Mad, bad, and dangerous to know. Good choice. Yeah, I also like I actually had the Dead or Alive tape back in the day, called Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know. Should the U.S. play Russia against China? The U.S. can't, for the reasons that I just stated. The U.S. is not in a position to play either of them. Everybody knows what the game is now, even nobodies like us. Is there such a thing as two countries merging? Yes. Vox, do you think the moon landing as fake could be a psyop to demoralize the American public and diminish their sense of accomplishment? No, I don't think that the average American who isn't a boomer gives a quantum of a damn about the moon landing. I don't. You know, who cares about it except the boomers? Honestly. You know, I don't. I mean, what would diminishing America's sense of accomplishment mean? America has been so entirely and utterly demoralized that they don't even know what Americans are. I'm going to address this. There's a 1916 essay that was mentioned recently. It was run in the Atlantic, and it was one of the first attacks on the idea that America was a most people think. Jeffrey Epstein in Antarctica with Ken Lay? No. Let's see. Shortage of police, shortage of nurses, shortage of doctors now. What is this telling us? It's telling us that the government intervention in the economy has been disastrous. So, there's a blood feud because Owen called the Kurgan British. Well, it's hardly his fault that he misunderstood that. Of course, you got to keep in mind that the Kurgan gets upset if you call him Italian. So, you know, you just can't worry about that. Erdogan, okay. Erdogan. I'll try to remember that. I probably won't. But thoughts on Ukrainians being pitted against the Russians? Any small hat involvement? Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's literally they now have a Jewish comedian running the country, if I recall correctly. I mean, obviously, just a complete puppet. PS actually worked his way through the whole article. He said that strategy page was excellent. The Chinese will engage in economic attrition in a gamble for a reasonable American puppet. It's guaranteed. Well, it's guaranteed that they'll try it. It's not guaranteed that they'll be successful. Any tips on gently exposing the PragerU crowd to a family friend as subversive to their Christianity? Yes. Let's see. Do you really think we couldn't win the armies? He did. Repeatedly. Over and over and over again. But that type of war, occupational war, is all about morale. The Japanese accepted their defeat. The Germans accepted their defeat. The Vietnamese did not. The Afghans, as far as we can tell, never will. They didn't accept it with the British. They didn't accept it with Alexander the Great. They didn't accept it with the Soviets, and they're not accepting it with the US. So this idea that, oh, well, we could have beaten them if only we'd been really willing to fight, that's totally false. The only way that you can win is if you send over your settlers and they outnumber the natives. So the U.S. is not only not winning in Afghanistan, the U.S. is losing the war in the United States. Winning wars is more about settlers and permanent civilian occupation than it is about military violence. So I think a nuke went off over Hiroshima. Or more properly, I think an atomic bomb did go off over Hiroshima. So Califragilistic Bear said, that's what Mexico is doing to us. Now, it's not just Mexico. Mexico is just one part of it. The U.S. has been subjected to the largest invasion in the history of man. We're talking, if you include the descendants of the recent, whatever you want to call them, migrants, immigrants, invaders, new Americans, the U.S. has been invaded by 80 million people. That is larger than the entire nation of Germany. That is larger than the entire United Kingdom. And so there is absolutely no way, 0.000% chance that the United States is not going to break apart into a number of different states, possibly nation states, as a result. The historical lessons are perfectly clear. Do you mind repeating how to go about investing in Rebels Run if space is still available? Happy with my new annual subscription. Oh, thank you. It's excellent. And praying for your success. Well, we can definitely use that. Yeah, let me give you the link here, and you can go there directly and see for yourself. Let's see. There you go. The South shall rise again is sounding pretty prophetic these days. Well, I suppose we'll find out. Did you hear Trump wants to limit legal immigration? I've heard Trump say lots of things, like we need that he wants more legal immigration. I don't think that that's viable. I mean, I don't think it's politically viable for him. How much of the U.S. do you think will go to Mexico in the fall? I think part of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, at least the southern half of California, possibly parts of Nevada as well. Uh, I think nukes are real, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm an unauthorized member. How do I get the Darkstream mask? That's for channel members. That's just something that we have here on the Darkstream channel. Unfortunately, I can't give them out to unauthorized subscribers, or I would. I'm curious on the timeline. When will all this happen? My best guess is around the 2033 timeframe. I'm in Canada and I want to get my family out to the USA. Is this a good idea, Vox? I think actually parts of Canada are better than most of the US. But it depends on where in Canada you are. I mean, obviously, just about anywhere is better than Toronto. Let's see here. The Mexicans have pushed pretty far into Colorado as well. Yeah, but I don't expect them to be able to hold on to that. Why do you hype up Q? I've answered this because Q is a morale booster, and morale is the single most important thing in any conflict. It's not one or more LARPers. I am a lot smarter than you. That's why I'm pointing out to you that you're wrong. Your whole take on Q is completely wrong, and in fact misses the point. So, let's see here. How do you think the Hawaiian Islands will fare in a collapse? Horribly. It's very disunified there between the Haoles, the native Hawaiians, and the Japanese. If you had to guess, what country do you think the Antichrist will live in? Well, it says he's going to rule in Jerusalem, so I'm assuming Israel. Do you think most of his activities will occur in the Holy Land? Not necessarily, because of the global travel thing. Let's see. Evening Vox. I'm a premium monthly member on unauthorized. I could switch that membership to premium yearly if that would help for the Owen show. No, if you're premium, you're good. That's all great. Yearly is just for those that we just did that as a courtesy to those premium members who said, I don't want to pay every month. I just want to pay once, once a year. So there's no effective difference between the two. Yeah, I'm going to ban you, David Allison, because you're a gamma. Don't ask questions about his family. He talks a lot about them. You would guess it's okay to ask, but no, dude, you're just such a loser. And you're banned. What sort of moron doesn't understand that the fact that I talk about a personal subject doesn't mean that I'm offering carte blanche to ask about any subject, no matter how sensitive, related to that subject. But I'm always glad to see gammas reveal themselves like that, because then we can get rid of them. Trudeau is not the Antichrist. The Antichrist will at least be competent, I would expect. So, all right. Well, that's all for tonight. Just a reminder, if you are a Milo fan, How to Be Straight is now available on both Amazon and Archaven Comics, and $2.99. Very funny. If you've ever felt that you need advice on how to be straight, there you go. No, Milo's brilliant. You all know that. And so thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all of the many new unauthorized subscribers. And tell your friends, tell your friends who are interested in the cultural war that if you want to help us win it, help us get to 5,000. And welcome, behold, a pale horse bear. That's an impressive name. I like it a lot. So, all right. Have a good evening. We will see you at the next time. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, those of you who are Gold Pack channel members, we're going to do the book review on Wednesday. Wednesday evening, normal time, we'll do the book review. And the book review will be about Neil Stephenson's latest, Fall or Dodge in Hell. On that note, have a good evening. Look forward to seeing you at the next one. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.